It's Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. A lot to talk about today. Please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's just get right into what is going on today. More evidence of just how fake the data is. Hundreds of thousands of those jobs were completely fake. Article today on the economiccollapse.com. Many of you probably have already seen the news, been watching this. The jobs data that we got, non-farm payrolls, off by over 800,000. So the numbers we're getting, the data that we're getting, the news that we're getting, a lot of it is very, very fake. So you have to ask yourself, if they're off by 818,000, and remember, a lot of these jobs were never created. They were just people returning back to old jobs. Let's be fair with that. But if they were off by 818,000, which is probably even worse than that, but what else is fake? What else are they not telling us the truth about? They are selling all of us, or trying to sell us, an illusion that everything is just fine with the economy. Although every day we are seeing mass layoffs, especially with these large corporations, yet they're telling us everything is okay. Yet we get the job numbers today, they're off by 818,000. So basically, we had over 800,000 fake jobs last year. It just makes you really wonder what the heck is going on and why they're doing this. It is unbelievable. And I think everybody should be very, very concerned because you're being lied to. This is a complete economic disaster. And they're telling you it's not by lying to all of us that look at all these jobs. Many of them were never created. They were just people going back to their old jobs. And they try to create these jobs out of thin air that didn't exist. All of these fake jobs. What the F is going on? How bad is this economy really? Here's one from the Hedge today. U.S. jobs revised down by 818,000 in election year. Shocker. Second worst revision in U.S. history. They're trying, again, to make the economy appear to look stronger than it really is. And the bottom line is this: the numbers are cooked. We've been talking about this for over a year. Every month these numbers are revised down, month after month, revised down. The numbers are cooked. Philadelphia Fed admits U.S. payrolls overstated by at least 800,000. And if we look at some of the revisions here, professional services revised down 358,000, leisure revised down 150,000, manufacturing revised down 115,000. In 2023, the BLS overstated payrolls by 800,000 through December 2023. That took the average of 230,000 jobs per month down to an increase of just 130,000 per month. I mean, they're not just lying 5 or 10 or 15, 20,000 jobs a month. They're lying 100,000 jobs a month. The 2024 revision was the biggest in the past decade, and the second biggest on record, with just the 824,000 revision in 2009, which was barely bigger than the one we just got at 818,000. Again, it just reinforces with all of you and myself just how manipulated this data is and just how bad the economy really is. If they're lying about this, what else are they lying about? How much more out there is fake? Not just these jobs and this revision. What else? Maybe inflation? Where is the real inflation number? When are we going to find that out? Probably after November. Yahoo Finance. Americans think they'll be out of work and are looking for jobs at highest rate in 10 years. New York Fed survey. More Americans are looking for jobs, it says, and unemployment is worsening at the highest level in a decade. You know, as I've said in the past, do whatever you can to keep the job that you have right now, especially if it's paying the bills. Don't lose your job. I think we're going to see a point not too far from now where people are going to be desperately looking for a job. Remember, over the last couple of years, nobody wanted a job. Everybody wanted to stay home. Nobody wanted to work. People who are working right now seem upset that they're working, almost like they're being forced to work, even though they're making over $20 an hour flipping burgers. I think that mindset at some point is going to change. And I think people now are beginning to realize that the system isn't going to be there for you. They may not pay your bills. People are going to get very, very desperate. And there's going to be a lot of people taking jobs, doing jobs that they never thought they would ever do. But they're going to do it because they're getting hungry. They've got bills to pay. And I think that we're going to see things really begin to change here. And they're changing right now. But I think by this fall, we're going to see big, big changes and more desperation for a job or multiple jobs. Don't lose your job, ladies and gentlemen. More people are looking for jobs, and as unemployment worsens, which it's doing right now, you're going to see more people desperate to take on a job, and a job maybe they would have never done a couple years ago. But when people get hungry, they'll do things they never thought they would do. Remember, you're probably not going to get the benefits of other people coming from other places. You're actually going to have to feed yourself. So make sure that you're adding to your skills, that you know how to do things, be versatile. Number one, just try not to lose the job that you have right now. I was looking at some of these job losses last night. We've talked a lot, some of these large corporate job losses over the last couple weeks. And just over the last week, here's a few others. Title here, Save Mart to close Roseville Distribution Center, affecting hundreds of jobs. 273 jobs lost there. I believe that's Roseville, Illinois. Anheuser-Busch to lay off 193 in Massachusetts. They're going to close the facility there. Nordstrom closing corporate offices in Los Angeles and Chicago. Some people will relocate, others will not. They're done. 4 Illinois KFC fast food locations abruptly close Monday morning. Northrop Grumman announces another round of South Bay layoffs. Many of these will be in, I believe, Manhattan Beach and Redondo Beach area. 550 people done, on top of the hundreds that have already gotten laid off this year. It's just unbelievable. We got more. Bass Pro announces more layoffs in its marine division. That's another 100 people losing their job. GoPro to cut 15% of workforce in restructuring push. That's another 139 people. It just goes on and on and on daily, every day. Some of these freight companies, trucking companies that are closing up every day. Tomorrow, there's going to be another large company or corporation laying off more people. This should be warning every one of you that things are changing. The climate is changing. The economy continues to decay. Be prepared. I would highly advise to stay away from big ticket purchases. I would highly advise from having to use a credit card. I would highly advise taking on any debt right now. This is going to get very, very ugly. San Francisco Gate. In one Bay Area county, almost 70% of homes didn't sell for over 30 days. This is Solano County. And I bring this up because this is coming to America. I know that a lot of people say that will never happen in my neighborhood. That won't happen here. This is what these people said a couple years ago too in Solano County. That'll never happen. Some of the hottest housing markets in America, people believe nothing can happen. And if you go back and you look at history, it's typically the hottest markets that take the biggest hits. The housing market is not just cooling down, it is frozen. Rates are average, in my opinion. Problem is, home prices are way overpriced, and you don't have mortgage rates at 2.5%, 3% like you did. So as long as these prices stay where they're at, and you have mortgage rates at 6.5%, you're going to have a very stagnant real estate market. And we're seeing across the country more properties being listed, days on market longer. I just looked 15 minutes ago at some properties on Zillow, and I'm looking at price reductions back in July, 3-4 weeks ago, and these homes are still in the market, and there's substantial reductions, and they're still on the market. They're not selling. Looking at a house today that has been reduced by about $200,000 from last year. From last year, this house has been on the market for over 300 days. It's still in the market, even with a price down almost $200,000 from last year. Just had a $30,000 price reduction a week or two ago. Still in the market. Things are definitely changing. South Florida, a senior enclave, sees more people unretiring due to living cost. Who's going to be able to retire when you look at insurance premiums skyrocketing, housing costs, food costs, utility prices continuing to skyrocket? The cost of living is just getting completely out of control. And when you look at how many people 65 years and older who are still working in this country, it's alarming. And it's going to go much, much higher. People are going to be working well into their 80s. There's no way they can retire. It's just impossible. Prices are absolutely out of control. This is why I really, truly believe that we have to see a crash. I think it would be healthy. It will be painful. It will be painful, but it would be healthy at the same time because we need prices to come back to reality. If we want to just continue to cut interest rates, we want to continue to helicopter money into the economy and these artificial injections, you're going to continue to see, new car prices over $50,000, the average house $420,000 for a cookie cutter. You're going to continue to see things continue to go up in price, and they're becoming so far out of reach for the average person. They're never going to be able to actually pay off a car. They're never going to own a house. They're never going to be middle class because it's out of reach. We need a collapse. We really, really do. And it's going to be painful. The markets are much bigger than any government. They're much bigger than the system. The markets at some point will collapse. They have to. There's too much debt. There's too much manipulation. There's too many people losing jobs. Prices are too high. There's too much inflation. Something is going to break, ladies and gentlemen, and it needs to. The bubbles must burst. And again, it will be very, very painful. There are going to be people who lose a lot. But if it doesn't happen, there's going to be more people losing a lot more. So I think it'd be very, very healthy to see a collapse. It's going to be painful. It's going to be ugly. But when you didn't allow things to really collapse in 2008, when you just flew the helicopters over dumping cash, when you put interest rates at zero for over a decade, when the Fed came in and cut mortgage rates to 2.65%, buying mortgage-backed securities, buying into the stock market, just pumping up these bubbles even bigger than they were. This is what you get. Nobody asked for the bubbles to get this big. This is pure greed. This is massive corporate greed. This is crony capitalism. And so I really hope that we see things change. And in order to do that, literally, we just have to flush the system. The system needs to just flush out. It must crash. Otherwise, it's going to get much, much more difficult for the average person to attain a home, a vehicle, a nice standard of living. People are going to be debt slaves. And that's just reality. Here's the Daily Caller. Student loan borrowers bailed out, now piling up mounds of other debt. People who benefited from all this loan forgiveness, the millions of people, they're still accumulating debt. So these people get their debt forgiven and have their student loans forgiven. So what do? They go out and they run up auto debt. They run up credit card debt. They run up home loans. They just replaced one debt with another debt. So this is the message we send when we go, oh, don't pay that back. Don't pay your obligation back. We'll take care of that. We'll let the taxpayer take care of that so that you can go run up auto debt, credit cards, and mortgage debt. Unbelievable. what is going on. People are so reckless and so careless. And I feel literally robbed and ripped off that myself being a taxpayer, like many of you, that we had to pay for this mistake. We had to pay for this mistake. People who signed on the dotted line, who obligated themselves and promised to pay that money back, but then reneged on it, and now we pay for it. So they could go out and run up other debts. How do you feel about that? Please comment down below. As you know, I think that this is one of the worst things we could do, but they did it. And I think it sends a horrible message that you can, obligate yourself to a debt, get a degree, probably worthless, and then have somebody else pay for it. Unbelievable. It's just absolutely horrible. But things are really going to change here, ladies and gentlemen, and they're changing right now. But getting back to what we started talking about earlier, these massive fake job numbers. Comment down below. What else is fake? What else have they been lying to us about? Pretty much everything. I'm sure inflation is much higher than 3%. I think most of you would agree with that. We are not being told the real truth about the U.S. economy. This is the worst economy I've seen in my lifetime. This economy is absolutely depressed. It's decaying. It's going to continue to get much, much worse. The layoffs are just beginning. And when I watch some of these financial channels and, it's a great time to buy a house. Oh, mortgage rates are down to 6.5%. You should jump in and buy a house. How can you buy a house at 6.5, 5.5, 4.5 when you're acquiring all this debt, when you don't know if you're going to have a job tomorrow, when you're working, 2 or 3 part-time jobs? How are people going to qualify to do this? And then on top of that, we're hearing about people coming from all over the world who may get $25,000 to put down on a house. Or here in California, if you're from somewhere else, you may not even have to put a down payment down. The state of California, the taxpayers will pay for that. It's unbelievable what is going on and the price that we're all going to pay for this massive illusion. There is going to be a huge price to pay. So I just wanted to share some of this with all of you. Please feel free to comment down below on any of this. Real quick too, we were out last week. I believe they're closing down 100 IHOPs. Many of you probably already know that. But we have a local one in La Quinta. I drove by it a few days ago and I was like, nobody's there. Closed, done, gone. And I'm seeing another surge with a lot of these retailers and restaurants closing down out here in our area. I'm beginning to see more vacant buildings again. And it is really, really concerning when you see a restaurant that's been out here for years, just literally overnight gone. And as John Tapper said, it's not just another vacant building. It's more broken dreams. People, who open these restaurants or these franchises, people that they employ, the families that are supported by these businesses, the shattered dreams. The dreams are being shattered. And it's affecting a lot of people. And it's really, really sad to see more closures. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say we're going to see a lot more. So I will leave it there today. Again, feel free to comment on anything. Let us know what's happening in your areas. Are you seeing more retailers and restaurants closing? Maybe where you live, they're opening. Maybe things are good where you're at. But they may be good where you're at right now. But remember, the entire country as a whole, the entire economy as a whole is on life support. $35+ trillion in debt. We're seeing massive layoffs across the country. You might be in Mayberry and everything's fine, but I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time before this hits you. There's no getting away from what is coming. Yes, some areas will be hit less hard than others. The hottest markets will be hit the hardest without a doubt, but nobody's immune from this. Nobody is immune. Somebody will tell me that they live in this town or that town, and then I look at the debt of their state, and their states are literally bankrupt, but they think everything's okay because their little town is doing well, but their state is bankrupt while the entire United States is bankrupt. So, you can't just evaluate everything because you live in a small town and everything's okay there. We are in big trouble as a nation. Your state is probably bankrupt. Your pensions are in big trouble. People just, as long as it's not affecting them today, they just believe everything's going to be okay, that this is, their little bubble won't be affected. They live in a little bubble. They're not going to be affected. But this thing is so big, it's going to affect everybody at some point. So be preparing for that. I don't want to sit here and rant. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe. And I'm going to watch a little bit of the convention tonight. Wow, it's been quite interesting. I guess the viewership has been way down. If you're watching it, what are your thoughts on it? Yeah, it's been interesting. I'll leave it at that. But when I just see some of these people speak, boy, we're in some very, very serious trouble. I would just say, what have they been doing for the last 3.5 years? What have they been doing for the last 3.5 years? Why now all of a sudden is it going to change? Let me know your thoughts. Have a great day. Stay safe out there, and God bless.